You've already seen the video. You're like, what is this?
Just caught a glimpse of that. Oh no.
Alright, guys. Well, as promised, here's the culprit for putting me in my own giveaway. My familia, Ellie. Ellie, say hi to her.
Hi.
So, I wanted to get you on this video because I watched 30 seconds of it and I was like, I already know what I'm going to say. But I think you will have some pushback. And I want you to be completely comfortable in saying whatever you want to say. Anything that you want to say to me, anything you want to say to the people watching, because there are a lot of them that agree with me.
Okay.
Feel free to, it's no holds barred. You say whatever's on your mind. If you need to pause for a second and think about it, I'll edit the pause out just so people ain't sitting around watching.
Yeah.
Because this video has been sent to me by literally like 20 different people. And I keep on putting it off. And I started watching it, I started laughing. And I thought, you know what? This is going to piss. This is really going to piss Ellie off. Let me watch it.
I'm wearing earrings.
You're not wearing earrings. Is that really the problem? But anything you wanna say, you just let me know, okay? Anything you wanna say, obviously.
You're scaring me.
No, I don't want.
Scaring me.
Because one criticism I've had on the channel is that it exists in an echo chamber, right?
Okay.
The people I've had on to speak to usually agree with me. I haven't had anyone on that is gonna push back on anything that I'm saying.
Okay.
So, obviously, like we disagree, or we respect each other, and we're family. So. There's a level of love there, whereas other people online, I might try to strangle them for certain things they say. So we'll watch the video, and remember, if you want to pause it, just tell me, or just hit the space bar.
Does anybody else feel like masculinity has slowly been drained from modern video games? I was looking at recent staff photos of Ubisoft and Halo Infinite developers, and it's all starting to make sense. It's a bunch of fat white liberal women
Fucking real.
and white.
Stop the video like that. Wait.
This is what I got to.
No,
I
is
turned
this
it off.
real, Mike?
Yeah, it's real. This is now.
No. Really?
If you were making like a manly game, like a game for dudes, right?
Yeah.
And that was the staffing, what would you say? Do you think these are the kinds of people, just taking a look at them, right? We're going to get to the games in a little bit. Just taking a look at them, are they the kinds of people that you think could satisfy me with a video game?
Okay. Respectfully, I see your point.
Mm.
I would say no. However, on the offhand, you could argue that the majority of games right now, or previously, sorry, when we were growing up, was heavily male-dominated developers, right?
Yeah.
So would you argue that maybe Anita Sarkeesian has a point then, in which she's saying that this doesn't represent us because half of the people making these games are male and appeasing obviously to the male gaze? But
now my pushback to that is that a lot of the times when these kinds of people produce these games, they tank. A lot of the time we don't see them doing very well.
what do you mean, you people? No, I'm joking. What do you mean, these people?
Well, okay, what we'll do is we'll let it play a little bit
Yeah.
so that you can get a more of an understanding where he's going with it. I know the fat liberal part, it threw me off as well.
I already knew where it's going.
I was cracking up as soon as you said that.
Liberal women have no interest in masculine, manly, male characters. They wouldn't even know how to write one if they tried. This is why Rockstar, a company founded by men that at least in 2018 was still mostly run by men, created the magnum opus Red Dead Redemption 2, a game with a manly, well-written main protagonist, Arthur Morgan. If you want to see the seismic shift away from masculine characters, honestly, all you need to do is play a few games from 2006, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Consider how many masculine military games came out in the 2000s. Medal of Honor, Call of Duty, Brothers in Arms, Gears of War, Operation Flashpoint, Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, Splinter Cell. All of these games were starring men and had themes like brotherhood, duty, sacrifice, honor. Almost all of these franchises have either been killed off, turned into multiplayer games, or went woke.
Do you know what? When he said that, yeah, I actually stopped and I thought to myself, holy shit, because I used to love playing shooting games.
Yeah.
And now whenever I see a shooting game, I don't mean to sound whatever ist they will label me with, but I don't feel like the story modes in them or the characters that they give us, they don't have that sense of brotherhood, that sense of duty anymore. When I play some of the, well, they don't, Medal of Honor's not even around anymore. It's gone. And a lot of the shooting games are out now, like Overwatch and what's that one? Valorant. They seem so far removed from what I remember playing growing up, and it doesn't even feel like there's an alternative anymore. It feels like one side has been pushed out and has been completely taken over, and most of those games are duds. Oh, and I know Overwatch isn't.
Can I offer a counter?
Yeah.
I think that putting up all of those games, right, you could argue that they kind of were coming up at the same time.
Yeah.
And I would argue that the game that killed all of them is Call of Duty. And because it became the shooter to play, and it killed all of these other franchises that otherwise kind of had the same premises of like brotherhood, military, you know, male protagonist. And it kind of took that and made all of the other games in a way obsolete. And I think when you come away from feelings of brotherhood, because stories have to evolve, right? So maybe they realized that if Call of Duty did this and they did it right, we need to not necessarily reinvent the wheel, but give this a new perspective. So the introduction, say for example, like Overwatch, it wasn't just a game necessarily about brotherhood, because it included all of these other sexes. I don't want to say sexes because I guess I don't know, certain
Identities.
characters, like obviously identify as different or don't identify at all. I don't know.
Yeah.
So in that way, it's like maybe they're filling a different type of niche. Like this is the natural development of things. You know, when you've told a story and you've told it a million different ways, you know, what other way can you tell that story when it's already been done by someone or a game so prevalent?
No, this is my pushback to that, right? I think that the themes of brotherhood and duty and like the sense of belonging, I guess, that story never gets old with men. You can give me like, because most of the Yakuza games, there's a sense of duty. There's like riding with your brothers.
Agreed.
And that storytelling has never gotten old for a single man in anything. If you look at like fighting games and like brotherhoods in fighting, like Ken and Ryu, or you look at like Law and Paul in Tekken, or you even look at Gears of War, from Gears of War 1 to 3, like it was obviously centered around Marcus Phoenix, but it was a hyper masculine game. It was about standing with your brothers. I don't think that storytelling ever gets old. It never even gets old in movies.
That's the thing. I completely agree with that point, that story doesn't get old, which is why there's so many games that were so successful for such a long time after telling that story. Well, and telling it in different ways, because there's many ways to tell that story. I don't want to be, you know, I don't know, single-minded, but I guess in this way, what I mean is when you have a story like Call of Duty, where it wasn't just one and done, it was like a series of games that told multiple stories in that military setting. I think it kind of killed games in that specific setting, because as you mentioned, there are other stories about brotherhood and things like that aren't in that specific genre.
Yeah, are you saying that Call of Duty monopolized the first person shooters?
In military, absolutely. Like it absolutely did it. I think it killed games in that way, shooters. And then you're left now grasping at straws, like you said, you know. Obviously, Valorant's doing a madness, but Overwatch, it has taken a huge fucking hit. But you could argue that that's more a case of their own stupidity. You know, Blizzard did dumb things with the franchise, and they're paying for it now.
I heard the microtransactions really hurt them as well.
Dude, they announced Overwatch 2, and then it became a battle pass.
Yeah.
It was the same game with just a few more characters and less chance to get like cool shit. I guess you had to pay for everything.
Is that still your main game?
It was my main game for a long time, I think, and then obviously I became just as disappointed with it as everything else, and then I've been dwindling because I'm not sure. I'm thinking about going back just because they announced that 6v6 has come back, so
you need to play Yakuza. I've been telling you for years. Yakuza is the One Piece of the video game world, and you've watched One Piece now.
But again, like I like that you mentioned obviously that the trope doesn't get old, because you're right, it doesn't, as clearly it's been told in many different ways. I just think that it needs different genres to breathe in, and I think that it was way overdone in a military setting, and I think that people maybe got not fatigued, but they were too concentrated on the game.
I
Call of
don't
Duty.
think I don't think it was overdone in the military sense. I think Call of Duty destroyed everyone through its gameplay and online features. But I think if all of those games were able to match Call of Duty's gameplay features and what it offers the players in a long-term setting, I do think the sense of brotherhood and like hyper masculine, like we're gonna die in battle for our women back home or whatever. I don't think that storytelling would ever get old. I think you can pivot it, and you could, because like, I played World at War and I played Black Ops, and they were very different, but there was always that sense of duty never goes away. Like even when I'm playing Yakuza and it's getting up to the final part and you got to protect your girl and he's over there talking shit. Even I'm sitting there like, I'm about to fuck you up.
I often wonder why so few modern games appeal to me. And I think another big reason is this. Everything is just so gay now.
This guy don't give a fuck.
What the fuck, dude? Also, isn't that there's no such thing as coincidences.
What, is he an Overwatch character?
It looks like Valorant to me, but I don't know.
That kind of character design, if I saw that, I would be like, it's not for me. It's just not for me. This game's not for me.
Agreed that it's not for you. However, could you argue that nowadays, especially in our time, there may be more men that do relate
Femboys.
or see themselves in more of these characters. You can say femboy, you can say that, but ultimately it's a fashion choice, right? It's just a choice in what they choose to wear and how they choose to express themselves. And maybe we are a little bit more removed now from seeing masculinity as like just one thing and more of the like how you express it.
Don't you think it's so cool though? Just that dude, he's got a shotgun in his hand.
Yeah, of course. Don't get me wrong. Of course I fucking do. Of course I do. I think no one can argue that. No one can argue that that's not cool as fucking shit. However, there is room for other characters that aren't like that other men that maybe don't prescribe or fall into that, like, heavy fucking, you know, like maybe they don't fit into that. And maybe this is a way that they can also see themselves in stories, I guess. I don't know. Because I don't even know if you really see yourself in a story anyway. I don't know.
Well, I always see myself through personality and action, not necessarily in like stature.
Yeah, I totally get that.
So like I've always related to like Vegeta, for example. I've always related to his personality.
All right. Okay.
But I don't see, like, I don't think I'm
Yeah,
Vegeta.
no,
It's just his action. Like Magneto, for example. I didn't look at Magneto like an oldish white dude and think I look like him. It was his behaviors and his personality.
No, I get
Maybe
that.
that's not the best example because
No.
he killed millions of people.
I think you're right in that sense, but I think when you're talking about characters where it's just like a character selection thing, like you may not necessarily have such a deep backstory. Like Magneto, you have like hundreds of comics that you could pick from, you know, that tell different stories and show you different aspects of their personality. But this is very much like, oh, you see them and you either kind of relate to them or you think, oh, you know, I like how this character looks, and you just kind of pick them and see how they feel. Like it's a lot more casual than I think it used to be.
Yeah.
It's a lot more accessible now, so I think a lot more people playing games now, and they're being a little bit more direct in maybe what they want to see.
Yeah. I do think that there's more people playing games in different demographics, but I think certain games like Overwatch, they get away with things because I don't know too much about Overwatch, but I do know that. Actually, do you know what? I'll let the video play a little bit more because I think they're gonna cover this.
You're not us being 1 minute and 20.
Yeah, I'm gonna be all day.
Everything is gay now.
It's like an Asmongold video.
Compare the games I just mentioned to the modern trash we have to deal with in Overwatch and Apex. Almost every character in these new games is either gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans, or something else. Like, what happened to a masculine dude with a hot chick on his arm? I love the idea of Xbox Game Pass, but I
know
swear...
you're saying, can we have this back? Right, sorry to pause this again and view Asmongold.
But how much cooler was Duke Nukem than what we just saw?
Bro, if you played the last Duke Nukem game, that's arguable.
No, the game sucked. But the
character,
he's so.
I agree.
I'm gonna kick ass and chew bubblegum and I'm all that I got.
But why can't they both exist? Why can't they
Duke has to
both
kill them.
exist? Like, there's room, I feel, for both.
I believe there's room for both. How actually, do you know what? I'm gonna let him get to his next point.
Every time I open it up and look for new games, there's just so many games that look gay now.
What does
refuse
that?
to
No,
play
come
another
on, dude.
cutesy 2D
Please, no.
He's not wrong though.
No,
Look
what
at
do
this.
you mean?
There are, dude,
no.
there are so many games on Battle Pass and on Steam where you're going through them and you're like, where's the cool shit?
Explain the word gay in this context.
Unpacking.
They're easy, chill games.
You know when he's saying gay, he's how he's saying school.
It's hyperbole, I know,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying here is that there's nothing gay with wanting a chill game. Some people are really high strung and they use games like this to completely unwind from that day. Not everybody games for the same reasons, you know?
But when it's overwhelming the Xbox Game Pass, right? That's what he's saying. He's saying that when he goes onto Xbox Game Pass,
Yeah.
not that Doom and Duke Nukem are not
Yeah.
there. He's saying that you're swimming through loads of, as he said, gay games to get to the manly games.
But
That's
what
he's saying.
is he saying is the fundamental problem? Or the solution rather? Is he saying that there should be more of these games, or is he saying there should be less of these? Because that's just like people create these games because they want to, right? Because they
Yeah.
feel that there's something missing, or maybe a game that they would like to play that doesn't exist,
Yeah.
right? So these are created from the people that have seen a niche and created that, and they're clearly popular for a reason. So they're resonating with some. So I feel
I
like
don't know how popular they are.
I don't know. I know that unpacking one. I think that's actually deceptively popular.
What is it? What do you even do in it?
I actually don't know. I think you just arrange things in like they give you like a fake suitcase and then you. It's. I don't want to say like Tetris. I don't want to talk about shit that I don't know. Let's click on it. Oh wait, we can't.
Yeah, it's a video.
I thought we were in Steve Park.
platformer or a game with a cutesy art style by some indie developer anymore. I'm just done with these games. If you want my 100% real
filter them
thoughts on
out,
this, I just think the entire video game industry has gone woke and gay, and almost nothing they are
So
making
don't
appeals
fucking
to
play
me
them
in any
anymore,
way.
dude, or just play
so
the
this
games
is
you
why
wanna
I
play.
mostly play 20-year-old games on my channel, because they were just better. I was recently reading an insider interview about what went down at Volition Studios with the disastrous Saints Row reboot from an inside source. This source said that the LGBTQ community within the company was actually pretty small, but they are the loudest and the most annoying, and the company leadership chose to promote these people into key roles. And that's how you get the absolute dumpster fire of a game that was Saints Row 2022.
So Saints Row is a very, very good example of why people don't appreciate this in their games. Like, there's games that you can create at grassroots for a certain type of audience, and no one's going to say anything because it's a new game and it was made for these people. But the problem that people have is that you take an established franchise like Saints Row that was known for having super masculine dudes and a very over-the-top story with very likable characters, and they decided, I don't know if he's going to cover this in it, but they decided to massacre all the characters that people loved and brought in these characters where I'm sorry, yeah, but you don't go from the characters you had in Saints Row to that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to
Like
be rude.
that could literally be a normal guy on the street.
But that's the problem.
Yeah.
Saints Row weren't
I know.
normal. It's like Yakuza, right? So let's say they massacre Kiryu, they kill Yagami, they kill all the guys that we love, and they replace him with some dude that has like brightly blue hair and he's very, very skinny, no dragon tattoos, nothing. The Yakuza fanbase are going to sit there going, who is this for? Yakuza is a game made by men for men, right? It appeals to girls as well because it's a good game. But it's the clear audience are men. They cater it very clearly for men. Even like when you play the games, you can tell the jokes. The guys in the office
It's catered for men, yeah.
yeah. So when you get a game like Saints Row that people have been playing for years, it's been very wacky and over the top, but it's quite masculine and people grew to love those characters. And then out of nowhere, you massacre the characters. You take a franchise people loved and you replace them with these people that you know that the audience is not going to like. What do you think is going to happen to the game?
Yeah.
What happened to this game? It absolutely is a shit show. It's terrible. It's unrecognizable. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. I remember my friend showed it to me when it came out, and I said to him, what are we looking at here? He was like, that's Saints Row. And I was like, no. It's one of those ones. I think that's the main problem. Like Steam games and indie games, you want to make your little game that I don't like, that's fine. You can make it.
I think I agree with you on that point though. Like I think if when you take established characters and you just kind of out of the blue say, oh, actually, you know, they're now gay or cis, I'm cis, straight, you know, like, or whatever it is, if they're traditionally gay or whatever, or suddenly bi. I don't know, like I kind of understand that you're maybe messing with the foundation of a story that doesn't really need to be messed with, or putting in an additional. I don't know. It's almost like treating sexuality like a quirk. Like you're just gonna add this and then take it away when you see fit, and it's just like.
Do you know how I know these people are full of shit when
pandering.
they say that they're racist, they're misogynistic, they're homophobic or transphobic, whatever? Is that I don't care if you have a gay character in a game.
Yeah.
I've grown up watching One Piece. Bon Clay was one of my favorite characters.
I loved Bon Clay.
There's no issue with gay people, and also this talking point of when they switch characters out that are male for female, and everyone gets really angry and they're like, "Oh, these misogynists." It's not that, because if you took Tomb Raider and you switched Lara Croft to Larry Croft, I'm not buying your game. If you switched Bayonetta to Bayonetta, I'm not buying the game. I used this example in a video the other day. If you took Ripley from the Alien series and just swapped her out of a white dude,
I might play just for the sweet gimmick, but I'm what's wrong with the world.
Okay, well, at least you admit it. But you can imagine how angry people would be, right? Like, Iron Man passes away in the MCU, and they put Ironheart there.
Yeah.
Now, I know she's in the comics, but no one likes her in the comics anyway. You can't replace established characters. Like,
I agree with you.
Storm, for example. If they wrote a comic and Storm was a black dude, that would be like, Storm's a black woman. I don't want this gender bent version of it. So a lot of people will make out like, you don't want gay characters in these games.
I don't think, it's definitely not that.
It's not that at
I
all.
mean, I don't know. You know what we're saying? We're talking in absolutes. I'm sure that there are people that are just like, I seriously don't want any of that shit in my games, and in
Generally
which case
speaking.
I'm sorry, like, they do exist. Even maybe you can say that there's an over representation now, where even in our own life maybe it's not as common in our daily lives, to meet somebody who's maybe trans or gay or bi or whatever it is, and maybe because it's not as common in some people's daily lives, they see it as an oversaturation, and it begins to irk them, where it feels like it's being shoved down their throats. Or even for the people that do belong to those communities, it can feel a lot like they're pandering, and like I said, using sexuality as like a quirk or a perk to take and take away.
It feels forced. It doesn't feel authentic.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I was telling these guys on the channel the other day. Do you remember Knock at the Cabin? It was with Batista.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
The two main characters were two gay dudes, and they had the daughter. And I said, what was the first thing I said to you? That's such an interesting concept.
It's a really interesting concept.
If a guy knocked at the door and said, one of you has got to die, the guy's going to be like, well, it's going to be me. It's not going to be my wife and daughter. But if you've got two gay guys, then it's like, okay,
both of them feel the same way about the other.
And then so someone commented saying,
not to say that a woman doesn't feel that way, but I understand that obviously the dynamics are very different.
Yeah, a man's going to take the bullet for his wife. He's not going to let his wife take it. And I got a comment from someone saying, why does it feel like you're saying that black people, trans people, whatever, have to fit a certain criteria for the story to be molded around them for it to be okay for you, but white people can just exist?
No, I don't think
that's not what I'm saying at all. If I had a film and it was in like in Gambia or whatever, in Nigeria, and the film was about Nigeria, it was about Nigerian politics, but you've got a white dude there, you're gonna have to justify to me why that white guy's there. You can't just be there as like a DEI thing for Africa, right? You need to justify why that person's there. So I don't necessarily need you to justify why a black man is the main character in a film. But if the black man's a main character in a film about Indian women, then I'm gonna be like, why is there not an Indian? What's the reason? You need to give a proper reason for it.
Or if it's gonna, for me, I think it's more if it's such a, I guess I don't mind if it's like a throwaway thing and it never, excuse me, it never becomes like a talked about thing. But again, that just feels like, what story are you trying to tell? Like, is it a part of it? Is it an important thing? But maybe that's equally important to be like, sometimes it's not the main thing about someone, sometimes it is just a really throwaway thing that we don't really focus on. It's like, oh yeah, that character was gay, but it has absolutely fuck all to do with the story. Let's play the game. It just happens to be sometimes people have that itch in communities where they're like, oh, what are they into? There's always those like weirdos in the communities that are like, they fantasize about these characters and what.
Oh, they do it in Tekken all the time.
Do you see what I mean? So this is what I'm saying. They attribute so much, like the communities attribute so much to these made up fucking characters.
Yeah, they did this thing. I saw this thing on Twitter where, Kenshi and Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
They have like a little brotherhood thing going on in the new Mortal Kombat story.
Well, I already know where that's going.
Yeah, Kenshi put his hand, or Johnny Cage put his hand on his arm and said, oh, I've got this, man.
Yeah.
And someone wrote, oh my God, he touched him. I was like, they're not gay.
Yes,
they're friends.
Literally just a friendly touch, dude.
I think what you have at a lot of these game studios is about 80% of the staff is probably just hetero dudes trying to do their job, but they're afraid of speaking up or saying what they actually think. And then you have the LGBTQ folks making decisions about what kind of game to make. And everything just ends up being safe and soft and sensitive because, oh, we can't hurt anybody's feelings. So, of course, you get these shitty dumpster fire video games that nobody wants to play. After reading a lot of insider interviews with these developers, this is my sense of what has been happening. I also feel like there's this kind of unholy alliance right now between games journalists, white liberal women at game studios, and the LGBTQ community at game studios. And they all seem to be united around one thing.
That woman that you saw just there, that's Alyssa McCanty. She seems to want... She's like the new Anita Sarkeesian. It's just every time she opens her mouth, something silly comes out. And I've even tried to tell people on my channel, do you know what? I know people that think like her. They're not bad people. They just get into echo chambers and they start talking a bunch of nonsense. But the more I go through her Twitter, the more I'm just like, this woman really wants to start a fight with somebody. She's completely lost touch of reality. There's a company called Sweet Baby Inc., right? They're a narrative consultancy agency, and they'll basically, a game will come out like God of War, and Sweet Baby Inc. will go in there for sensitivity reading and to change things and to make sure you fit the diversity quotas and everybody's represented. Which in my mind, you don't need that bullshit. You need to tell the story. I don't need a black person on screen in a story about Vikings. I need you to tell me a good story. I don't need a white person in a story about the Black Panther. I need you to tell me a good story about Wakanda and the Black Panther. But these people go into those games. They start, oh, you know, her boobs are a little bit too big. Bring them down. This guy is a bit too hench. Bring him down. And they go into games like the Suicide Squad. They completely new to the characters that are in the game. And then the game tanks. And they act like it was the players who are racist and misogynistic. They forget the fact that we've grown up with a certain type of Poison Ivy. We've grown up with Harley Quinn. We like Batman a certain way. We don't like seeing Batman disrespected by C-tier villains. And then they put it on the gamers and they say, oh, you guys are the bad guys. It's you cis straight men or whatever.
Maybe it is that we grew up with a very certain, like with the type of version. And I think when you grow up with the type of version of a character and you see it bastardized, you're obviously going to get upset because you know what its original, its original iteration was. But say, for example, you are now 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever, preteen to a teen, and this is what you know. If all you know is what is currently being shown to you, that becomes your new normal and you don't have that experience with the previous iteration of the character or its original iteration to really, like, if we look back, we don't have an experience with Camp Batman,
Oh, the Adam West one.
Yeah, like we
Yeah, I grew up watching Adam West.
like, but
Because
not
Mum
to the
watched
extent. That's just see what I mean. But not to the extent that you would say that your parents did. When you think about Batman, you think about your own, like your generation version of Batman, right? You don't think Adam West.
Croaky Batman.
Croaky Batman.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I think you can do different versions of characters. I think the problem is when you new to the character. Like the Adam West Batman was more goofy.
Yeah.
But there was already like goofy renditions of Batman in comics. The comics changed over time to match the times. It became more dark as it went into the 90s.
Yeah.
And so the media, the live action media caught up with it. But if you took Batman and like, do you remember that Superman comic? I think it was with Superboy, and he happened to be gay.
Yeah.
Do you remember? I think
yeah.
I don't know if I'm getting that. It was either Superboy
I
or
think
Superman.
you showed it to me, funnily enough.
Yeah, and I was just
something...
like, everyone was like, well, what's the problem? Why can't he be gay? And I was like, you don't gaslight people like that. Like, it's not a storyline that we're used to seeing. People don't want to see it. And if people do want to see it, then voices like mine will get shut down. But people don't want to see those things and they tank and they go away.
The thing is, though, that's like, there's nothing stopping those people from having those iterations of stories. Like, fan fiction exists. Like, that stuff exists. If you want to tell a story that, hell, you literally mentioned it not that long ago, with the Tekken characters, like having their little gay moment.
What, Lily and Asuka?
If they're female, yeah, or if they're male, whatever. But there's always like fan fiction for that stuff, like where people create scenarios in their head and they make stories out of them. There's bare Harry Potter fan fiction, for example. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm talking about.
Who do they do it with Harry? Is it Harry or Ron?
Dude, I could pull up any. I'm telling you, there is Harry's. There's an iteration where Harry probably fucked a cauldron
Oh my god, what's wrong with people, man?
They just do, you know. People
I
are
don't
freaks.
get. I see when I'll type in like I'll try to get a picture of like Naruto and Sasuke, and then this absolute schlop starts coming up, and I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
Yep.
You can do whatever you want because it is artistic freedom, but it is also
No, yeah, that's exactly it, isn't it? Like you can do what you want, but should you do that?
Yeah,
You know,
should you?
it's. I think that's the thing.
Look in the mirror and think about it.
They actually hate gamers. And who are gamers overwhelmingly? Well, heterosexual dudes like us, of course. This recent Reddit thread was written by an actual game developer and made me realize this. It reads, headline,
Am I allowed to say this? I kind of hate gamers. I'm a professional game designer, and I'm worried that I'm starting to hate gamers. Watching the gaming events on YouTube last month with the chat on was extremely disheartening experience. Every time a character that wasn't a cis-het white man appeared on screen, the chats would fill with messages calling the game woke or complaining about DEI. Every game that wasn't a shooter or a hyper-casual competitive online game garnered zzz and boring comments. I've seen people implying that the MC in Fable...
That is because when I watch these game shows, okay, I've been a gamer since I was little, right? And I play I used to play loads of different games, not as much anymore just because of work and everything. But when I watch these game shows, there is so much shit that they put out, and most of it tanks. There was a game called, I think it was like Forbidden or something. And I remember reading the chat, and everyone was like, "This looks so lame. And then they tried to like tell people, "Oh, you're just being some sort of ist again." But there's a lot of shit games that they put out these days. There's a lot of garbage. If you compare the PS2 era to what we have today, it's night and day.
Yeah, I mean, I stick by the idea that battle passes and microtransactions absolutely killed gaming.
Yeah, that definitely didn't help, and live service games and all that
like
shit.
absolutely.
But some of the designs of these characters, like, they forget that it's a fantasy world.
Yeah.
It's why people loved Stellar Blade
It's
so
to escape,
much.
man. We don't want the rules that affect reality to be affecting our games necessarily.
Yeah.
I think if it's a game set in a reality, fair enough. Okay, follow the rules of that set reality. But if you're creating, you know, a game set in fucking space and she has 3 tits and 2 vaginas, like, that is what it is.
Yeah. I don't want to see a game. Like, when I play my fantasy games, right, like the Devil May Cry style games, and there's dudes and there's girls in there. I don't want Dante to have a beer belly, okay? I want him to look like a superhero, and I don't want Trish or Lady to look like Becky and Samantha down the road. I want them to look like fantastical characters, the way they do in anime.
I do agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, I have no qualms with that. I find the argument that art should imitate reality really silly. You know, I don't necessarily think that's true. Like, you don't see people walking around in some of these costumes casually. Like, there's a time and place, like cosplay, you know, you go to events, blah blah blah. You don't wear this shit every day. So to turn around and look at the character and their body and say, I don't look like that, so they shouldn't exist. Yeah, it's a little bit silly, because like the whole premise of it is completely fantastical. What makes you think that you should be able to see yourself in that fantastical character and it not just be a complete breakaway? Why do you think you're able to edit every single fucking facet of that person's face and their identity? Because you are able to escape. You can make it what you want. Yeah. You know, and obviously I know there's going to be some people that say, well, I want to be a fat character, or I want to be, you know, X, Y, and Z. And in which case, I have no problem with options in character games where you get to pick and there's sliders and whatever. I don't see exactly, like, there's options. You do you. But in games where there's a set character that, say for example, someone has created out there, you have no fucking right to tell that person what kind of story they should tell, or what kind of, like, what appearance their character should take on. Like, you did not create that story. And if you don't want to, you know, take part in that journey, you don't have to. Yeah. Nobody is forcing you to take that journey with anyone. Yeah, I always tell people, vote with your wallet. Exactly. If it's not a story for you, it's not a story for you. Yeah. Not everything is catered to you. Yeah, I'm completely fine with that. I always tell people that are on my channel, like, let them release games where they want to uglify characters and do all that shit, and let's see how well it sells. And if it sells well, then we lost. Exactly. But it never does. Because people don't like that shit. Have you ever been to Comic-Con before? Do you ever see the girls dressing as the ugly versions of the characters? No. Never. I love that shit. Like, I love seeing all the cosplayers and thinking, like, damn, those girls look fucking good. Yeah, you know? They'll even go... Even the guys. They'll go as far as to make Pikachu
into some sort of like swimsuit thing. It's never these
literally.
stupid versions that we get in
Yeah.
2024 where it's like, oh, decrease bust size, cover them up completely. Like, and do you know what baffles me the most is it's sexual liberation, prop up Cardi B, sexy red, twerk, 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 wet ass pussy. But when it comes to games, no, we can't do that. We got to put them in a full on tank suit, basically. We got to make them fat. And I'm just like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
There's like a serious juxtaposition here.
I think they get to pick and choose because they for a long time, I think games were seen as such a thing that only kids do, you know. And I think obviously as that mentality has matured, maybe they're starting to see that there's a wider conversation to be had about the fact that, yeah, like not just kids consume these games, and we shouldn't just cater everything to be you know, you for everyone or universal or whatever.
Yeah.
Some things can just be 15 plus or 18 plus.
Trailers is ugly because it's a self-insert of some random level designer working at Playground whom they deemed not fuckable enough. I don't know, it's just the internet magnifying negative voices, I guess, doing what it does best. But it's making me real tired of gamers.
So at this point, it seems that games journalists and all of the liberal LGBT mafia that work at game studios actually hate their audience. And this is a comment I keep reading from you guys again and again. I swear they literally hate us. They seem to be dead set on giving their audience exactly what we don't want. How long is your business going to be open if you're dead set on not giving the customer what they want? This is why when skanks like Alyssa Mercante are crying about Kotaku shutting down and losing their jobs, and game studios are going under because they were associated.
There you go. That's Asmongold's.
Yeah.
This company comes in there, they mess with character designs, they make them more acceptable, right? They tell the companies to stop taking so many chances or whatever on the narrative, and then people don't like it. The game studio shuts down, so we lose another studio.
I can already tell you that the fact that that character's boobs are less than a double D has completely demolished sales.
Yeah, 100%. Guys like tits.
Yeah, like...
Guys like tits, I'm sorry to say. We like, and the thing is that it's in a fantasy world.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at animes, like, look at One Piece.
Like, in no fantasy, right? Sorry to say. Right, if I had a choice, okay, I ain't being an A-cup. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And in no fantasy world where I get to fucking pick my chest size, am I gonna... No offense to all my A-cup ladies, because, you know, I'm fairly small myself.
No, we
but
don't-
what I'm
we
saying,
don't-
if I
we
get to
don't
pick,
discriminate.
bro, I'm not gonna pick to be that, like, small.
Yeah, or maybe you do pick small.
Maybe you do,
you like
yeah.
small movies, but you like a fat ass.
Yeah.
Or you like
Yeah.
Chun-Li thighs.
Yeah.
Like in a fantasy
There's
world, like
always
Ready
something,
Player
man.
One. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
you get
there's
to
always
pick.
something.
Like if it was up to me, yeah, I'm gonna pick the hyper masculine, like Thor build kind of
Exactly.
dude. Like most dudes will. There's nothing wrong with that, and
Nothing
it's
wrong
always funny to me that like you have a game like Baldur's Gate with the villain,
Yeah.
who women seem to love. Like Shanice and Amber in my group chats, they talk about him like as a real person. It's like, all right, relax. And they and not those two because they're not part of this whole schlop that's going on. But there's a lot of women online that will talk about these men and like, oh, look at him, he's a man, he's a man's man. But then you talk about some of the female characters and we're like, hey, do you know the original Tomb Raider, the original Lara Croft? We kind of prefer her.
Yeah.
Oh, you must be a pig. I'm just like, but she was badass and she looked cool.
She was badass and
She was
looked
fun
cool
to look
while
at.
doing it.
Yeah.
Literally, that was her whole shtick, man.
Yeah.
She was cool as fuck, sexy as fuck, and
Yeah.
she could do it all, man.
And I love the
There's
Tomb
nothing
Raider
wrong
games.
with that.
And the new Tomb Raider games, they're not bad games.
Yeah, they're not bad games. Like
But
they're good games.
she's not Lara Croft. Like
That's not Tomb Raider.
She's a librarian with a gun. Like she's not Lara Croft to me. So
Yeah. Is it a different character, or is it just the fact that she doesn't have tits and an ass?
no, it's a whole different well, no, it's a reimagined
Yeah,
version.
I think that's the issue, isn't it?
It's not
like it's supposed to be this deeper dive into her personality,
It's
but
not
in
the
doing
original
so, they've kind of taken away the magic of what made the original Tomb
Yeah, it's a
Raider.
reboot. Like
Yeah.
they're not continuing the story. They've just redesigned
They've
the
completely,
character. They stripped away original Lara, and it's basically a new timeline.
They literally, they didn't just take away her tits and ass.
Yeah, they took away everything. She's
took it all, man.
she's unrecognizable.
Waxed.
Yeah, literally just fucking took a hammer to the chest.
Who don't know how to give the audience. The wonderful irony in all this is that it's the very games that the woke cancel mob has tried to cancel that seem to do the best. Remember Hogwarts Legacy? Yeah, men who dress in women's clothes tried to get it canceled. Instead, the game sold 25 million copies. Oops. Remember Elden?
They really tried.
They
to
really
destroy it.
tried, yeah.
They were like, and the thing is that she's gonna get royalties from it because it's her IP. Harry Potter belongs to J.K. Rowling.
Sorry, I created the best-selling franchise of all time. One of them,
The
anyway.
fact that they wanted to ruin people's fun because of J.K. Rowling's views that she is allowed to have. She's a woman.
Man.
She can have the views on womanhood that she wants to have, whether you agree with them or not. The fact that they tried their hardest to cancel it was mind-boggling to me. Now, bear in mind, I don't like Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah.
I was actually very bored of it. But everybody was having a great time.
Yeah,
So
they did.
like,
They had a great time.
if people are having a good time, I ain't got a problem with it. The fact that people wants to ruin their good time, instead of just being like, it's not for me. I'm not gonna play it. I don't like J.K. Rowling. I can't disassociate. I ain't playing it. They wanted to cancel the game.
It's just anger, isn't it? Misplaced, I think.
Yeah.
They're just vindictive.
Yeah.
In a way.
Remember how the woke mob tried to accuse FromSoft games of having, quote, problematic depictions of women? Oops, sold 25 million copies. At this point, making an offensive game seems to guarantee that game's success. We could talk about Stellar Blade, pissing off all of the liberal progressives, and yet everybody went out and bought it. Okay,
What's
so
the
in the
problem?
rest of this video...
So the issue with Stellar Blade is that, first of all, that character is modeled after an actual Korean model.
Okay.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I would say
What's
she's
the
even...
issue? I'm failing to see the
There
problem.
shouldn't be an issue. We've got an actual beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Who her face doesn't look like the character's face, but it's modeled after her body,
Yeah.
right? And these Alyssa Mercante types on Kotaku, they were like, oh, this is more pandering to these right-wing, misogynistic, racist, bigoted guys. You're just giving them what they want so they can sit there in their basement jerking off.
That's a big...
They cast a wide net.
Yeah, that's a very wide net.
They cast a very wide net. And the thing that they don't understand is that, first of all, Stellar Blade sold like hotcakes. You've got a hack and slash game with a beautiful protagonist with other beautiful women in the game and cool looking dudes, right? And cool looking monsters. Guys are very simple to please. You give me a cool dude or a cool chick and you tell me, right, we gotta go kill those monsters. You got my £40.
Yeah.
I'm involved. But if you're like, oh, token this, token that, we're gonna water her down here. She's gonna be a boss babe. But nothing about her is going to be boss other than the fact that she shouts really loud. Like she's shouting down to people. You know, you get those shitty managers there. They get into positions of power. And instead of treating people with respect, instead of garnering respect from people, they just shout at you. That's what a lot of these games
giving Miss Marvel.
Yeah, giving Miss Marvel.
I want to give you 4 examples of a game or game series going from masculine to feminine or gay. And it basically
Or
either
gay.
killed or ruined the franchise. Number 1. Ubisoft and Red Storm Entertainment. So Red Storm Entertainment was a video game company founded by the legendary Tom Clancy to make Tom Clancy video games. He sold the company to Ubisoft in the year 2000, and Ubisoft in the 2000s actually had some balls and made some of the manliest games you've ever seen. There were the Splinter Cell games, the Ghost Recon games, the Rainbow Six games, and the Far Cry games. All of these games pretty much feature exclusively men, and these IPs in the 2000s had so much testosterone, just a single glance from a woman in their direction would get her pregnant. I mean, motherfucking Sam Fisher, come on. The dude...
Sam Fisher, he's a dude. He's a guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy you want on your team.
I played this game a long time ago.
Do you remember Sam?
Yeah, a little.
He's one of those characters where it's like, if all's going wrong and Sam Fisher shows up, you're gonna die. Like, you're dead.
Is the ultimate Giga Chad. Scott Mitchell in Ghost Recon. Now, you pick your own character in Far Cry 2, but it's definitely a manly game that will put hair on your chest. So what is Red Storm Entertainment up to today? Well, I recently saw that Tom Clancy's The Division Heartland is being led by a man who dresses in women's clothes in his free time. Now, look, I don't give a shit if you want to identify as a dragon and go around laying magic eggs, but can we agree that the least masculine thing on earth you can do is dress in women's clothes? Tom Clancy would be rolling...
I don't care what people do in their personal life.
Yeah, I couldn't really give a shit.
If there was a man dressing in women's clothes, because, you know, some people that work in the art field can be a bit eccentric.
Yeah.
If that person made a really cool game, I ain't going to say anything. But if you are presenting that way, and obviously I'm going to make my assumption straight away about where you lean, then and then you present me with a game where you've completely neutered the really manly characters, then I'm going to be like, well, it kind of adds up. What are you doing here? Why are you not making a game catered for the people that you clearly want to cater for? You're making a game where, like really like gym bros, for example, love getting into, and then you destroy it, and then you wonder why it doesn't do well.
Yeah.
It's just like that's not the audience for it. Like, who do you think the audience for what's like like Def Jam, for example?
Yeah.
You know, Def
I
Jam
loved
fighting
that
game.
game. That was a great game.
That was for hood guys, basically.
Yeah, it was a really fun game though.
Yeah, it was a
It was
great
a good
game.
party game, man.
If you brought it out now with the rappers
Yeah.
that we have now,
Yeah.
you can't. You gotta redo the old school rappers.
Yeah.
Because manliness seems to have left hip hop. I don't know what happened. They're just in skirts now. Have you not seen the hip, like every other line is like a. Did you know what? There's a video for another day.
Over in his grave right now if he knew the absolute disaster that Red Storm Entertainment had become. Number 2, Wolfenstein. So I was recently playing
great things about
Wolfenstein
this
The
game.
New Order for the first time, which came out in 2014. And I have to say, of all the games I was sure were going to avoid woke Western progressivism, this game was pretty high up there. The first 3 entries of the reboot were all fantastic. They had the badass BJ Blazkowicz, an absolute unit, as the main character, ripping apart
BJ
entire
what?
armies of Nazis. with the
BJ
sec-
Blazkowicz.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Listen, this guy.
Stop it.
Wolfenstein was fantastic. He was so angry.
That
the
is
way
mad.
the way this guy assassinated Nazis in this game, you would think he's gonna be a guest character in Mortal Kombat. He was so fueled with rage.
That name alone.
Yeah, that name alone would invoke fear. If someone said to me, "BJ
Blazkowicz.
is coming to get you," I'd be like, "All right, well, I guess I'll just wait to die."
Yeah.
These were games clearly made like direct aimed at men.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that a lot of these games from back in the day, like, I used to enjoy them as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, even though they're aimed
Definitely.
at men, they're so cool.
Yeah, they're just cool.
It's like
It's
Terminator, right? Watching Arnold walk around, just I'll be back and just blasting people. Yeah, it's like
Do you know what I think it is as well? It's that I think we all grew up like even playing these games and thinking, "Oh, this is really cool. Let me make something that I think is cool."
Yeah.
And some of us don't have good ideas.
Yeah. That's basically it, and they've hired all
Like-
the idiots. It's, I
And that's
don't know
okay. Like sometimes you have to go through that, especially if you see the trajectory of like society is going a certain way. You know, people are becoming more tolerant and more accepting. And I think sometimes when there's money involved, they fucking leap at that to
Yeah.
the point where it is shoved down your throat because there's an ulterior motive. It feels very inauthentic and ungenuine. And that's why I think a lot of people get angry.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that I do think the pendulum is starting to swing though.
Yeah,
I think we went a bit too far.
that's the problem though, because these fucking companies push it down your throat
Yeah.
because they want to make a quick buck and they don't realize that you're not all the way there yet. Like
Yeah.
just because we're more accepting and more tolerant, that doesn't mean that the whole game and every single character in it has to be this complex mixed bag of sexuality and identity. Sometimes, the majority of the time, the simplest story, in the sense, the common story, a simple man, straight hetero man, is the everyday person.
Yeah.
That is the everyday story. So I think that's why I think a lot of these stories resonate with a lot more people. And then obviously when these people then see the games that are being made now and they don't see themselves in it, it becomes like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah.
But they're still the ones majority buying games. So that sentiment isn't necessarily mirrored in sales.
Yeah.
That's why these games tank, and the loud, like, these voices are so loud online, like, give us our old games back.
Yeah, because they are the majority.
Yeah.
They are still like, even though
Yeah,
there's
like,
a lot
of course,
there's
like,
a lot of new people that have moved into the gaming space. There's a lot of new voices. I'm not saying drown out their voices, but
of course not.
at the end of the day, video games are a business.
Mm.
And if you're not catering to who buys your games, it is going to swing back, because what's
Agreed.
going to happen is your studio's going to go out of business.
Yeah, but my thing is that why is it even swinging in that way, like, inauthentically? You shouldn't be doing this because you want to make a quick buck, which obviously, as a gaming company, that's exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of why I find this whole thing really nasty, and I think that's why it's not working in their favour.
Yeah.
Because I think people that do belong in those communities see that, and it's just maybe like, this is pandering,
Yeah.
and it's insulting, you know, to just add it in,
Oh,
just to
it's-
sell, like, to think that it can sell more games, and then it not end up being the case at all.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me that you cultivate a fan base. You know what the fan base wants. You're like, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to schlop all over them. Like, just completely ignore what they've been asking for, and then make out like they're never satisfied. These gamers are never satisfied. It's not that we're not satisfied. It's very simple concepts to follow. Like, look at Helldivers. Helldivers is about freedom and democracy and shooting aliens.
And it done very fucking well.
You got me at freedom.
As soon as you had democracy.
As soon as it said sign up for the Helldivers, me and the boys were locked in. Put me on an alien planet, leave me there. I'll pretend like I'm going down with the ship. And it's the most basic concept. I don't know if you've ever seen Helldivers being played before. And a new update came out today. It's called something for freedom. Again, you had me at freedom. You got my money. It's a very basic to please dudes with games, and most of the time it is straight dudes that are playing video games. It's not other demographics. I'm not saying they don't exist.
Yeah, of course.
But you have to, if you don't want your games to go, if you don't want your companies to go out of business, which they are going to, because you got a game like Black Myth Wukong coming out. There's another narrative consultant agency tried to get in there. Now, Black Myth comes from a Chinese developer. You already know that ain't gonna fly. So they basically told them, go fuck yourself. You're not getting our games. And do you know what they tried to charge them? $8 million to do the consultancy for the game. That was the alleged number going around, which I really wouldn't be surprised by, because someone blows smoke up these people else or something. They told us to go fuck themselves. What do you think that did for the game's popularity? Everyone heard, they told to fuck themselves. Pre-order. My friend literally pre-ordered 3 copies, every edition. It was like, just to support them. Yeah. That's how much people hate these narrative agencies.
That's so sad now, because it is literally, it's a problem that they've created, isn't it?
And they're going to go out of business. They might be I don't know where they're getting their funding from. Something seems nefarious to me. I'm not going to throw out any names, although people keep on dropping BlackRock. But
oh, well, Jesus.
They keep on dropping that, and I'm like, I don't know. I haven't got any confirmation. There seems to be something nefarious going on, because they're killing these games. Western games are being slaughtered by Asian games. Yeah. And so Black Myth is coming out. There's no sign of anything that looks forced. They're just telling the story of the Monkey King. That's all we want. I don't need to see a black person in the Monkey King. If there is one there from the original stories, no problem. But you don't need to insert one in there to make me feel good. You don't have to insert a Latina, right?
Proper pandery as well. Like, it just doesn't feel...
It's not authentic.
It feels very kindergarten-y. Like, oh, let's give them a participation award.
Look at Dragon Ball, right?
A booby prize.
If Dragon Ball lost its rights to American developers, we would see an absolute shitstorm online. Right now, I think there's Japanese developers or publishers that are fighting over the rights for it, because Toriyama is gone, rest in peace. And that IP is so big that, let's say, for example, Ubisoft got their hands on Dragon Ball. Oh my god. There would be an absolute firestorm. I'd be at the forefront of it. I would be at the fucking forefront. That's when you've gone too far. Now I'm going to dip into my toxic traits. But look at Sparking Zero, right? Everybody's excited for this game.
I haven't heard of that.
It's the new Dragon Ball game. So, I used to play Budokai Tenkaichi 3. We'd come home from school, and so this is basically Tenkaichi 4. And it's been 17 years.
Okay, damn.
And so everybody is just like super excited. Like, to the point where, do you know who Afro Senju is?
Sounds familiar. YouTuber.
Yeah, I'll show you a clip.
I think I've seen clips. Yeah.
So this is the announcement of it.
That's such a good reaction, though.
Bro!
I love watching people get excited over shit like this, man.
Yeah, because it's been like... It's been 17 years, right, since we had got a Tenkaichi game. And people just want you to give them the things that make them feel good.
Yeah, of course.
I don't need you to... Yeah, you don't need to... Goku doesn't need to start talking about these sort of relations and representing these people. I need him to punch aliens.
It doesn't fit in the story either.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's also an important point to make. Like, some of these, sometimes when it's made a prevalent part of the story, it actually has absolutely nothing to do with the story or the story they're trying to tell.
And smart Anya as his arm candy and wife. Machine Game's first 3 Wolfenstein entries, which came out in 2014, 2015, and 2017, are all great. They have normal men and women doing normal shit in them. Awesome. But of course, the woke mob had to get involved somehow. So you have a beloved series with a beloved, tough, male, manly main character. Do you suppose it's a good idea to kill off that guy and replace him with cringy girl boss characters? Wolfenstein Youngblood came out in 2019, and it's an absolute tone-deaf disaster. So many modern video games, I find myself asking, who wanted this? Who asked for this? I often ask the same thing of the new Star Wars shows by Kathleen Kennedy as well. The Wolfenstein reboot had the perfect synergy of story and gameplay. You are BJ Blazkowicz, unleashing his rage on the Nazis for killing everyone he loved. You see this come across in his brutal assassinations, like sticking a rusty pipe through the eye socket of an SS Waffen commander. But the setup to Wolfenstein Youngblood is incredibly cringe. In it, you play as BJ's daughters, and they're honestly nothing like him. The first time you kill somebody, they don't really want to do it, and when they finally kill the guy, they have to have lattes and talk about it afterwards. Youngblood is a perfect example of how a cutscene can go so wrong in a game. BJ's setup is perfect and explains...
Sorry, did they actually really have to have lattes?
No, the game is a laughable joke. I've never actually played it before. I've only played the first two.
That's
I didn't get to play the third.
insulting as well. Like,
it's crazy, dude. It's just like someone I was talking to someone about, it, and they were like, "Yeah, but they're his daughters. Like, obviously he protected them, and they didn't have to see what he did." I was like, "We didn't ask for that story.
Yeah.
We want BJ. I don't want you to give me your bullshit." It's like when people talk to me about Boruto, right?
yeah.
Even though Boruto is not woke or whatever, no one asked
No
for
one
Boruto.
asked for Boruto. And Naruto was
Naruto.
perfectly of age to still have more adventures. Why did you get me started?
It's painful when I have this
I
conversation
know,
with people
I know.
and they're like, "Yeah, but he had a son and he became Hokage." Well, he didn't have to become Hokage. He could have had another story. Are you telling me in this big world you couldn't come up with another story other than him retiring as a field ninja and going and being the Hokage? You couldn't have him and Sasuke go and fight those god ninjas and do that whole thing and then maybe become Hokage. Instead, you give us this schlop. And then when we talk about this game, it's like, yeah, but he had daughters, so it's their turn now. It's like, no, erase them. Just have BJ shooting Nazis. I just want him to shoot Nazis. That's it. I want him to be angry forever. That's all you gotta do. Guys are gonna be happy. And then do you know what? A couple of years time, give him his swan song. He runs out of batteries. The Nazis take him down. He goes down like a champ. End of Wolfenstein. No problem.
It's true. Nobody asked for,
No one asked for Becky and Samantha of the short haircuts. Again.
You're like, they're not even hot.
They're not even hot. Can't do anything right.
Into why you're doing the actions you're doing. BJ's daughters, however, are acting like they're in an episode of Big Bang Theory the whole time, but oh yeah, they just happen to be killing Nazis and haha, isn't this so funny? It's tonally all over the place and just so full of cringy and awful cinematics, which is ironic because the cinematics in the first three games were like so good and short, and they got to the point and they were really emotional and impactful. Example number 3, Gears of War. For a full explanation of how the woke mob girl bossed Gears of War, see my video on that game, but I'll keep this short. The first 3 Gears games are an incredible trilogy focusing on the bonds and brotherhood between men. They are incredibly masculine games, focusing on duty and sacrifice and military orders. And I know some of you hate this, but for 10,000 years, it's only been men fighting wars. Sorry. The first 3 games focus on Marcus, Dom, Cole, and Baird and tell a masculine story of brotherhood. Well, the progressive woke mob somehow got to Gears of War, and Gears 4 and 5 are about sisterhood, motherhood, being a traitor, and what it feels like to be a woman. They introduced
being a traitor.
Diaz, who
They betrayed us.
Like to be a woman.
They betrayed us. Do you know what? I never played Gears 4, so I didn't know this.
Never played this.
I played Gears 1 to 3.
I played the first Gears, I think, when I was really young.
How good was it?
Yeah, I think I don't even remember it, that's to be honest.
They're so good. Like do you know? I don't even want to spoil people.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the person's name, but there is a death scene in one of the Gears games. I won't even say which one it is in case people haven't played. It as a man, I was like, yeah, that guy is immortalized now in the Hall of Fame. He is a dude. He's the guy you want to bring with you to a war. So when I heard this was new to me. I was like, really? Gears of War? Gears was like the poster child of manly games. It's dudes with giant guns and giant suits, chainsawing aliens. Like I don't even know what would possess them to go down this road. And it's not like I hate seeing women in video games. It's just,
of course not. It's just,
if they had
story's already been told.
It's already been told. It's like we said with lead female characters in other games. If they suddenly replace them with men, I'm like, but we've been playing with her the whole
Well,
time.
yeah, yeah.
It's like you know the Walking Dead game,
Yeah.
and you play with Lee, and then you get to Clementine.
Yeah.
I want to play Clementine's story. and I
Yeah.
don't want someone else to come in. And
See,
luckily,
that makes sense as well. Like, we were introduced to Clementine through Lee.
yeah,
It wasn't like, oh, by the way, they had a daughter.
yeah,
And, like, off screen, you know, or off the
And
game.
Notice nobody gave a fuck that Lee was black.
Yeah.
He was just a cool guy.
He was just a cool guy.
He was just like a dad figure.
And
in
nobody threw their fucking toys out the pram when Clementine took over the story because it made fucking sense.
Yeah, it made perfect
They
sense.
fucking implanted the seed. Game was done so well, dude.
That is one of the best
That was
stories.
such a good game, dude.
If you haven't played The Walking Dead Telltales, you need to buy it and play through it.
Agreed.
Do you know what? I won't replay it because those games where you make choices, I only play them once because that's the story that I went
Yeah,
through.
it's authentic to you, innit?
But I wish I could erase that part of my memory and play it again. That's how good they were. The decisions you make in
Right.
that game actually have real consequences. And by the time you get to the end of it, I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but
You feel different, man.
I felt like crying. At the
yeah,
end.
you
It
feel
really
different,
hurt.
dude. It made me think about myself.
It hurt. It hurt watching that
Yeah.
ending. But then I was like, okay, there's going to be a season 2. What are they going to do? And they told a really good story through Clementine. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah,
I think it's better than the show.
Yeah, agreed.
I think it was better than the
I
show.
agree.
The only thing about the show I prefer is Negan. Obviously, I'm biased to Negan, but
The villains were great. You know?
yeah. And even The Last of Us, the first Last of Us game, Joel was like such a dude,
Yeah.
like such a.
Joel was great, man.
He was great. He was like a father figure and
Yeah.
also like a guy that you could rely on, and he was very clearly intelligent because he had survived the apocalypse for so long, and he had all this anger because of what they did to his daughter in the
Yeah.
opening cutscene. And so he goes through this whole thing trying to understand Ellie. Finally, like starts to love her like his own daughter.
Yeah. It's
Makes-
a genuine PTSD story, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
If we're going to talk about trauma, like, that's probably very fair and valid fucking trauma to carry, and then to
100%.
tell a story off of the back of.
And then when you get to the ending with the Fireflies and he has to choose between the world and Ellie, he chooses Ellie because it's his world, right?
Yeah.
He sees his daughter in her. And I saw that, and me and the boys were arguing about it for time because half of them were like, no, you choose the world. And the other half were like, no, you choose Ellie. You choose your daughter. And I was on the side of my people and my world. I know this is an unpopular opinion, but if it was you on the operating table or my daughter or something, everyone's gonna have to burn. I'm so sorry.
I'll rate that,
Everyone's
bro.
gonna burn. But then they took Joel's story, and you get to Last of Us Part 2, and in all his wisdom, all his intelligence, he bumps into Abby and those people that were running from the zombies at the time. They get into the cabin.
Yeah.
The people that Joel killed at the end of the first game were related to Abby, right?
Okay.
She had been looking for him, so it was a big coincidence. What does he do? She's like, oh, who are you guys? He's like, oh, I'm Joel. My camp's up there. I was like, what?
You're not even suspicious. Or
You're not.
yeah,
You
like,
just
this
dropped
isn't-
a pipe bomb and you saw Abby's face change, and they murdered Joel. They made us sit there and watch this fucking Brock Lesnar looking woman smash Joel's brains in, and then they said to you, now you're playing as her.
No.
You want me to play as Joel's murderer? You think I'm gonna accept this game? And there's always people online saying
They
enough
glenned
time.
you.
Yeah,
They fucking glenned
yeah,
you.
they glenned me. Now, luck, Glenn wasn't my guy.
Glenn was my fucking guy.
But we both read the comics though, right? I was always a Negan guy, so when Negan showed up, I was like, bye, Glenn.
And he tortured me with it.
But I was
for
an Abraham guy.
months.
Abraham
Yeah, you
didn't die in
didn't.
the
You
comics,
you
did
were
he?
not expecting that.
No.
Dude, when he died first, I was like,
I was sitting and I was like,
and then they
hello.
got Glenn. I was like, no.
I couldn't believe it because like Abraham was like he was a dude.
Yeah, he was a dude.
He was like he was a guy. He was a man's man. And so when he looked like Sheamus a little bit.
He did look like Seamus.
So when he smashed, I was
Military
like,
Seamus.
wait, this never happened. I felt like they were spiting me.
Yeah.
So, but that aside, like Joel was so like intelligent in the show. For him to just give up the location and then the developers say to us, now you have to play as this woman that is in the apocalypse but somehow is eating all the protein in the world. I've never seen a woman with such big arms in my life. And then I'm supposed to enjoy the game. Then you got people saying now, I think enough time has passed and we can all admit Last of Us 2 is a masterpiece. No.
What's
Last of Us 2 is a masterpiece in dog shit storytelling.
I actually never played the second one because of the
Yeah, me too.
backlash that it got. I thought to myself, I don't want to play a game where the character that I grew to love and to hold in such high esteem dies in that way.
In a disgusting. Have you seen the way he dies?
No, and I'd rather not.
Do you want me to show you?
Don't Glenn me again.
Let me show
What's
you. Let me
wrong
show
with
you how he dies. They've now gotten back to the cabin, right? This fucking piece of shit, I hate her.
Oh, got any brushes or towel or anything?
Look at you, angry.
Nothing but lucky.
You have no idea.
Don't get electricity in here.
Where the fuck have you been?
There are solar panels on the roof.
Who are these people?
How long y'all been here?
Since yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yep.
What are y'all doing out this way?
Just passing through. You two live nearby?
We do. A few hours down the hill. Y'all should come back with us, restock before you head out.
Appreciate it. I'm Mel, by the way.
Tommy, this is my brother.
Joe.
Tommy and Joe are not dummies. For them to say my camp's up there, my name's Tommy, that's my
the
brother
first
Joe.
thing I said to you. I was just like, they weren't even suspicious of these people at all. Like
Yeah.
after everything they've been through.
Dude, when they said that, yeah, you can hear the music and the tone changing. I'm like, oh, I was
Yeah.
like, please don't do this.
Yeah.
Y'all act like you heard of us or something.
Because they have.
All clear?
He's out. Put him against the wall.
Tommy! Get off me! Get off me!
Puta madre.
What story are we telling here?
This, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm gonna sound like a conspiracy theorist right now. When this game was coming out, there was a lot of talk that Anita Sarkeesian got her hands on this game, like she was a consultant for Neil Druckmann and Naughty Dog. I don't know how true that is, but this felt like they were spiting their male fan base. That's what it felt like to me. This did not feel like compelling storytelling because they threw Joel's character
Hell
under
of
the
a
bus.
lot of money though to spend just to spite the audience that you're tricking essentially to buy your game. Or do you feel that way? Like
I
they would
genuinely
trick
feel that
the
way.
choice people.
I genuinely feel that way because it's a hell of a lot of money to tank Wolfenstein, even though you know the player base wants a specific thing. I think these people, they do things on purpose to fuck with people when they know people don't like those things. And the thing is that you could have killed Joel in the story because Joel did a lot of things for his own people that would be considered villainous to other people.
Yeah.
But you butchered who he was by making him an idiot.
Yeah, but also at the same time, the game did a very good job. I feel like the first game did a very good job of showing that those things were hard for him. Like they weren't cut and dry.
Yeah.
Like the game did a good enough job of showing the consequences and the weight, the burden of the decision, as opposed to this where it's like this revenge plot and then all of a sudden you're taking over from her perspective, the murderer of someone that you've carried essentially their story for a few years.
Yeah. Getting the player base to play as Abby after she did this was a very tough ask.
I have to say though, like, I think that's maybe a part I dislike the least. Like, maybe at the very least, it wasn't just some fucking like random trans woman that just decided, I'm gonna murder Joel because of this thing that happened or that he did, and that's it. That's the story told. Yeah. They were like, okay, this horrific thing has happened. Now let's tell Abby's story. But it's just, for me, it's like, why is Abby's story important? What does it have to do? Yeah, with Joel and Ellie as well. Like, what is in it for us to carry the story along?
And also bear in mind that the players were just introduced to Abby here.
Yeah, exactly.
No emotional attachment to her whatsoever.
That's an issue. That's a real big issue.
The problem with this game is that the first one made sense. When I was playing it, I was like, these are all things I would probably think to do in the apocalypse. But after what you're about to see here, the game concludes with Ellie and Brock Lesnar getting into a fight. And if you just watched your father figure be brutally murdered, because what you're about to see, they don't kill him with a gun. What you're about to see is pretty fucked. If you've just seen your father figure, even your father, be brutally murdered by a stranger, if you finally got your hands on said person, would you not kill them?
Absolutely.
Ellie doesn't kill her. She's strangling her. After she's also ripped off one of Ellie's fingers, she bites her finger off. She's
I'm
strangling
killing
her.
I'm killing her. Sorry,
Yeah.
you took my pinky.
Ellie's like looking at her, and then she's getting flashbacks of Joel. And I'm like, the flashbacks of Joel should intensify your rage.
Yeah.
Joel was a murderer as well. He
Yeah.
killed loads of people, and he protected you in doing that.
Yeah.
And you let her go. And then people are like, oh, we need a part 3. We don't need a part 3.
I guess in a lot of people's eyes, they would see that as Ellie breaking the cycle because of the fact that you said, you know, Joel is this, like, he's done a lot of horrific things, and she's like, what, am I going to continue this now? You know, so I don't know. I guess you could argue it both ways.
Is it realistic though? Because this game was going for realism.
I don't agree that it's realistic. I don't think it's realistic at all. I think it's idealistic.
Yeah, that's the problem. In an apocalypse scenario, idealistic scenarios do not
I feel
work.
like you cannot start a game like The Last of Us in the way that you did and set the tone that you did, and then shift to an idealistic tone.
Yeah, 100%.
In a part 2 as well, with characters you've never introduced previously.
Who are you?
Guess.
Why don't you say whatever speech you got rehearsed? Get this over with.
Tourniquet his leg. Do it.
Don't you fucking move. God! Damn it!
Clear out. You stupid old man. You don't get to rush this.
Pin her down! Get off me! Get her hand! Get the fuck off me!
This is
You got her! Look, you got her! Okay?
there's no way you're not killing her.
You're gonna fucking die!
What's going on?
Let him go!
Who is that?
Let him
She
go!
snuck in. Why aren't you posted up outside?
We didn't think anyone was gonna show up.
What the hell did you expect? We gotta get out of here before the whole town's on top of us. You're done.
You want what I want, right?
End it. Now.
Joel, get up. Joel, fucking get up. Please stop. Please don't shoot. Joel, please get up. No!
Brutal.
I will never forgive them. Not only did they kill him, they spat on
They
him as well.
spat on him as well, bro.
I'll never forgive Naughty
And
Dog
she
for that.
fucking watched it happen, and she had her,
Yep.
and she
had
let her go.
She let her
No,
go.
not realistic at all, bro. I'm sorry. No.
I don't even need to show the ending scene. It's not worth even watching. I was there and I was choking Abby and I was like, okay, we're gonna fucking kill this bitch now.
Or maybe the
And he
whole
let her
point,
go.
maybe that's the whole fucking point. You know, like, he's basically saying The Last of Us, and he was the last of the ones that were about it. Like, when he had someone to protect, he protected them no matter what the fuck it meant morally.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think Ellie, maybe the last of that kind died with Joel.
Yeah.
Because
He's-
clearly
he's stood on
she is,
business.
yeah, she is not about it.
I don't think anybody gives a single fuck about. What they should have done is put Kate in a spin-off game, not a mainline Gears entry. But here's the problem, of course, nobody would have bought it. So unfortunately, Gears 4 and 5 are basically girl boss, feminist Gears of War, and any masculine story about men is put on the back burner. Of course, the games include Baird and Marcus in them, but they're really on the back burner, and Gears is now about Kate Diaz, who I've never talked to a Gears fan even cares about. Moving on, example number 4, the Saints Row reboot. Saints Row spent 10 years building up characters and building up a very distinctive and edgy and male sense of humor. It's the kind of stuff you and the guys would laugh at. Some of the recurring characters in Saints Row are Johnny Gat, Julius, Aisha, Shondi, and several others. In these games, the men are men and the women are women. Johnny is edgy and hilarious and always has a hot chick on his arm. The humor is crude and hilarious, and the Saints are always getting into trouble. So what went wrong with the reboot? Well, the woke 2022 reboot thought it was a good idea to kill off every single character from the old Saints Row games, and I guess they thought we would be cool with that? But don't worry, all of the beloved characters you've come to know and love have been replaced with tokenistic characters from a literal seminar on diversity. You've got the gay Asian man, the girl boss lesbian, another girl boss lesbian, and the gay black guy.
What?
The LGBTQ mafia didn't just...
Do you see why people get angry about this shit?
Whoa, wait.
They butchered the franchise. They literally massacred it.
But this is what I was telling you about before, though. Like, there's a very big difference when you say, hey, you know what? Let's increase representation here. When you say increase representation and you're talking about a game like this, in maybe that looks like having one character that happens to be gay. And it, do you know what I mean? It's like I don't want to say soft launch, but it kind of is. To suddenly make such a radical change in your game when historically the game has not been that, and the audience is clearly not there for this type of game, you've done way too much, way too soon, and you killed your own game.
Yeah, they didn't want to be represented. They wanted to take over.
Yeah.
And they took over. And the thing is that these games will not sell.
Yeah.
If you made a game with all characters like this and it was fresh and brand new,
Maybe you never know. But again, it might still be way too pandery. Like, it's just, like I said, it is not as prevalent as we think. I think when we think about the LGBTQ community, they're a very loud voice and obviously an important one. Everyone should have their opinion, you know. But when we're talking about representation and we're saying fair representation, it's still a very small community in comparison to, say, people that identify as cis or, you know, are heterosexual.
Yeah.
And so I think that when you're talking about representation, to not have a single straight person is representation for who?
Reverse,
yeah, exactly, in
They've gone
reverse.
backwards.
Exactly. It's too much one way, exactly the same way as prior. We had maybe way too much of the masculine hypermasculinity and not enough, you know, other.
For me, it's always like, if this game sold very well, then I'm like, okay, the market has moved.
It's there.
These people are the target demographic now. But it's
there's enough of them clearly that want this game. That
exactly, like when they bring out these films like Ghostbusters 2016, right, or they bring out what was it called, 314, the 304, where there was like the female Expendables, right? You had 90-pound white women kicking 300-pound men through walls, and I said, women make 50% of the population. This film will be as successful as an Expendables film if they show up, because this is clearly for them. Expendables is clearly for dudes, even though women enjoyed watching it because it did well. And they didn't show up. So what this tells me is that the films that they cater towards men, the really popular ones like Fast and Furious, the whole dynamic is brotherhood and family. The Expendables, even the early Marvel films were very they were very faithful to their comics in terms of tone. Now, you look at the original Tobey Maguire, you had the beautiful Mary Jane, you had a conventional hero, conventional bad guy. Yeah. You didn't have all of these weird swaps, uglifying characters. Like, if you look at the Mary Jane in the Spider-Man 2 game, I'm not entirely sure what was going on. Mary Jane's meant to be...
Pull her up. You can't say something that fucking rude. Sorry, I got chest infection, so...
I'm going to pass my sickness right back to me.
I'm pretty sure that's modelled after a real person.
Yeah, it is. This is a self-insert.
How can you say something?
Oh no, you shouldn't be. I wouldn't insert myself into a super. I don't look like a fucking superhero.
Okay, yeah.
Like, if you're gonna insert a man into a superhero genre, you choose a Roman Reigns, right? You choose Jason Momoa. They look like real life superheroes. You know, who is this?
She looks like a Mary Jane, to be fair.
Yeah, but a really ugly one.
It's just a plain Jane. Oh.
And then look at Kirsten Dunst, right? That was Mary Jane. When I saw her as Mary Jane, I was like, yeah, that's my Mary Jane. I get it. That's not. I don't know who. Come on, dude. What is this?
I get it. I know what you're saying.
Why are they self-inserting?
I wouldn't say it's uglification. I would say it's regularization. Regular. I don't know. It's like making them not so, like, obviously aesthetically pleasing. I don't know. I don't want to say
why?
that.
It's a
it's not like she's
fantasy.
not pretty. I can't look at her and say, but she's just not like they. I don't know. I feel like they made effort to de-beautify her.
Yeah. 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like, I can
1000%.
kind of see what you're saying in a way.
And I don't understand because Mary Jane is meant to be that, like, over the top.
Well, she's the
gorgeous
popular girl
Yeah,
at
she's
school,
the
yeah.
popular girl. Peter was the super nerd.
Yeah.
No
She
one
was the
ever
popular
thought
girl.
that he would be able to get her. Flash Thompson was with her, and it's like it makes sense. Even was it Gwen Stacy?
Yeah, Gwen.
Gwen Stacy's gorgeous, right?
Yeah, Gwen's supposed to be like.
And Emma Stone was a good pick.
She was a good pick, man.
Yeah, and
she was.
I'm sure whoever they're gonna get to play her now is gonna look nothing like her, and
Mm.
it's probably not gonna have like any features that resemble her. It's probably gonna
Well,
be
see,
100 pounds
films are
overweight.
always different. Films are very different.
Well, I would hope so now. It seems like Marvel has realized people don't like what they've been doing for the last 2 years. They've recast Robert Downey Jr. now as Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
I wasn't too sure how I felt about that, but I thought, you know what? It's been 2 years of absolute garbage. I'll take anything at this point. Let's see what they do. They've cast the Fantastic Four cast looks really good. Vanessa Kirby is Sue Storm, and I was like, money. I love Vanessa.
Show me
Kirby.
who's the what's the lineup right now? Oh, is that my Pedro Pascal?
Pedro Pascal is Reed Richards.
Oh boy.
Now, he wouldn't have been my first pick just based off physicality, but he's such a good actor.
Yeah, he's a great actor. He's gonna do great things.
I wouldn't have chosen him for Joel initially, but when I saw him as Joel, I was like, he did a good job.
Yeah.
And I was happy with it. Vanessa Kirby is like, she's so gorgeous. So beautiful.
Like she can do no wrong.
She can do no wrong. And the other two, they're good casting.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's the Human Torch. And
Yeah,
that's the thing.
can you imagine we were just completely
Yeah,
wrong?
it was the other way around. But I think that's a good casting. They got a good set of actors there. The
Yeah,
Fantastic
definitely.
Four are super important to the longevity and the storytelling of Marvel. And then they've cast RDJ, Deadpool and Wolverine. Dude, I've never seen so many gay jokes in one film. Like, they just went balls to the wall. They went out to offend.
Oh shit!
They went out to offend. I loved every second of it. It was
The thing
really,
is,
really
though,
good.
I think it's really insulting because, like, the gays can have a good joke, man. Like, they have a really good sense of humor.
100%.
That's why I find it so strange.
No,
like,
it's targeted
they
at the
pander
Twitter.
so much.
It's targeted at the Twitter gays and the Twitter, not
The
even
Twitter gays.
not even the Twitter gays,
Yeah.
even the Twitter straights. The people that just want to scream and scream and scream online. When
Or some people even get angry on another community's behalf without the community even saying like they genuinely have an issue with it.
yeah, exactly. Like my friend, we make jokes at each other. They make black jokes at me all the time. I make jokes at them. But I remember we were out, we were making jokes at each other. And some Karen was like, "Hey, you can't say that." I was like, "Shut up! He's my friend. I'll tell him if you can't say that. It's none of your business."
No, it's true. Fan dynamics are completely different.
Kill Saints Row, they crucified it on a rainbow flag.
I actually can't believe this.
And this is what you get, guys.
That's crazy.
This is what you fuckers get for supporting these people. They turn out shitty games that aren't funny, that aren't cool, that aren't masculine. So stop hiring these people. Game developers need to stop putting gay stuff in games, and they need to fire every liberal white woman if they want us to ever buy a game.
This guy, yeah.
You don't give a fuck.
He don't give a fuck. He's making points like in the like funniest fucking way, like so
He's saying
offensive.
it so nonchalant as
Yeah,
well, like we're not in 2024, like it's 2010 again.
Bro.
But you know, Marvel did that. They fired all the writers apparently that have been making like the Eternals and all this crap that they've been putting out recently. Because people that read comic books, we know what the demographic is. We know that there's been a shift, but the shift has not been big.
It's not that drastic.
It's not that drastic. The people that read comic books are people like me.
Yeah.
right? You've seen it up there. How many? I've got like 500 comics up there. I'm the kind of person that goes out and buys comics. I'm the one buying the Spawn comics, the Punisher.
And I have to say, like, even me, I stopped buying comics specifically because of the trajectory that it was going in.
Yeah.
And I went more for indie, like Saga and things like that, you know?
They brought out a new Saga chapter the other day. I saw it advertised.
I need to get the new... I buy them in volumes, innit?
Yeah.
So I'll wait.
Game again. Because I'm serious. We are done with this shit. We're not buying these games. Like, Phil Spencer is out here complaining about how people aren't spending as much money on games anymore. I guarantee if you give us hetero dudes hot chicks in games again and manly men, you will see sales go through the roof.
Yeah,
Bring back
I
the
think
glory
people are very
days
simple.
of video games. I have this theory that in a few years, we're going to see a turn back to the golden era of video games, and people are going to start buying games again. I recently saw this crazy chart from 2023 that basically showed that people are only playing old games these days. Nobody wants to play anything that's new out right now because it's all
That's
woke
so true.
and it all sucks
Like, even
so
us.
bad. So
Like,
anyway, guys.
Like, I know, obviously, it doesn't really count, but Rico specifically, like, will go to older games now, like single-player games, as opposed to some of, like, multiplayer games. Because the state of Call of Duty is just fucking sickening. So,
Yeah, I've seen what they've done to Call of Duty. Although I do think the WWE pack was pretty hilarious.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
made me laugh.
that's funny though. To be
But
fair.
yeah, Call of Duty looks like it's gone down a really bad road.
But it's
even
gimmicky,
me-
isn't it? Like, to have to do that in the first place to like pick up sales and shit. It's just a bit. I don't know.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. I do think the pendulum is going to swing. Even me, like, the game, whenever you walk in it, I'm playing Yakuza, I'm playing Tekken.
Yeah.
Tekken, I'll play the new ones, but Tekken never really changes like that. It's always got hyper angry guys that have devils in them fighting each other.
Yeah.
And then there's like loads of side characters or whatever. And the women always look pretty or whatever.
Yeah.
There's never any uglification of characters. Or Yakuza, I'll play Yakuza, or like I'll play the One Piece game. A lot of my games come from Japan now. I don't really play Western games anymore because they seem to have forgotten who the target demographic is. And
Or how to have fucking fun with the game.
Yeah,
like,
how to have fun.
Jesus Christ, like, it's just way too pandery and way too like based in reality, and it's just not adventurous enough anymore.
Yeah, they don't take risks
don't take
anymore.
risks, yeah.
They want to play it safe. They want to make games for people that aren't even there. But the thing is that this guy's right. They can continue. I think they should continue doing that because we're going to continue to ignore them. We're not going to buy their games. The studios will shut down.
Yeah.
And money speaks. And then they will start. They will sit there
It's
in
true.
their studios hating themselves that they have to make games for me.
Yeah. Or alternatively, you know, it gets to the point where they do find an audience. You know, maybe it's not a very big one, but maybe it's just enough for it to build into something bigger. And currently there should be representation or a game, you know, that anyone could just pick up and be like, yeah, okay. Like right now, you saw that packing game. You said it wasn't for you, like the unpacking game. But there's clearly a demographic for it, right?
Yeah.
Clearly there's people that enjoy that. So maybe it's kind of like this. It's growing pains to finding that demographic. And currently it's not big enough for a mainstream game to be carried by an ensemble of just LGBTQ characters or, you know, those kind of characters. Maybe that community is not big enough in the gaming community. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe they're not allowed enough voice.
I watched Shanice play this game called Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
And it seems to be
Great
really
game.
popular with people that just like to chill out in that.
Yep.
And one thing I've realized about all of these games, the ones that are like tanking and the ones that are doing very well, is that those kinds of games are very good indie games.
Yeah.
That there's a niche for them and they sell well and they stay within their niche. But the
But
problem
you can
that,
also play how you want.
yeah, you can play out. You can give people options, no problem. But the problem with these people, like the Kotaku types, is that they want to take established franchises and then be surprised when the established fan base are like, hey, what are you doing? And then they want to call them every ist under the sun. And it's not that. I don't want my Batman to be gay. I don't want my Black Panther to be white. I don't want my Superman to be a woman. I just want things to be the way they've always been. That's the way you can make new superheroes, and
By
they
all
might.
means, please. I welcome like new characters.
Yeah.
It's nice to always have different stories to tell. I'm always looking even for new animes. Again, like I've moved away myself from a lot of Western media because of that. And not necessarily because of those specific things, but just because I enjoy the variety of stories there are to tell.
Yeah.
You know, and I just think they tell it in a more interesting way.
And you can tell that people don't have these sentiments that they make out because in animes they represent gay people, they represent trans people.
Absolutely.
It's just they do it in a way that is easily digestible for everybody.
Everyone.
It's not pandery. It makes sense in the story. Like we said with One Piece, Ivankov is a trans character. It literally morphs between genders. Bon Clay is one of the best written characters in the show to this day.
So much love.
The last time we saw him, Bon Clay was what, 600 episodes ago. People are still talking about him today.
He's still my favorite character.
As gay as you can get.
Literally.
As gay as you can get, but he's one of the most lovable characters in the entire show. In the entire show, you even had Sanji go to that gay island. Remember?
To be trained.
Yeah, that shit was hilarious. It didn't feel like they were trying to make Sanji gay. It was good comedy. Everyone enjoyed it. And
it made sense with him, obviously, being such a womanizer, like, to be stuck on an island where this is your only option.
Didn't work, but... And even the representation of different body types. If we even just use One Piece, look at Big Mama, right?
Oh my god.
Gigantic fat woman, right? Now, in Western media, they would somehow get us to hate her. I don't know how they do it, but they somehow make us hate these kinds of people. But in One Piece or Japanese media, you have these characters of all different body shapes and sizes, different skin colors. Like the admirals are all black men, basically. Usopp is a black dude.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that these what are they called, the race that King was from? I can't remember what they were called.
What King?
King with the wings that he fought Zoro.
The Seraphim.
Yeah, no, the Seraphim. That's it. No, not the Seraphim, but the one that they were modeled after with the wings.
Oh, Bartholomew Kuma.
Not Kuma. You know when they were on Wano and Zoro fought King. King was Kaido's right hand man.
Yeah.
They got into that massive fight and Zoro clashed with him with his swords.
Yes, I know exactly who you're on about. Yes.
They call Zoro the Black Panther. He always kills black characters.
I was like, who the fuck are you talking about? But then I remembered,
But like, what anime is a prime example of how we like to see women represented, and we like to see different types of people represented. They do it right.
I know, obviously, that there is that big like takeaway with One Piece. Like, people will say, oh, you know, the boobs get bigger but honestly, like, for me, it does not fucking bother me.
And
why
who do you think is watching One Piece most of the time? Who do you think it is? Who do you think has been watching One Piece?
But with respect, like, as much as they say, you know, this bothers me so much, it's also so fucking surface level that it's even insulting to ignore the entirety of like 1,000 episodes of telling a story with these characters to basically dwindle and diminish them to the size of their boobs.
100%. Even Demon Slayer, they did it with Demon Slayer when that, I can't remember what her name is. You know the Demon Slayer, she's very like hypersexual.
Oh, the Entertainment District.
Yeah, well, no, the actual Hashira.
Oh,
you know the one that's got the whip.
Oh yeah.
Even they were going after her.
The pink hair and green tip. Yeah.
They were going after Tengen's wives. They're like, why are they dressed like that? I was like, oh, shut up, man. You've got this awesome story, this awesome characters. Everyone's having a good time, and you're just there nitpicking. And yet, all types of women get represented in anime. Yeah. All types of skin colors get represented in anime.
And body shapes, which I think is actually really important because people love to like scream and shout. But it's funny that you can be doing so many things right, like what we've just mentioned with One Piece specifically.
Yeah.
And then people will still fixate on the fact that Nami and, you know, Robin's boobs get bigger every season. It's like, okay, well, that's on you if that's what you want to focus on instead of all of the things that this show has done fucking right.
Yeah.
You know, the size of someone's boobs is really
and the amazing stories that they tell.
That's what I'm saying. It's so like it's such a side throwaway thing. It's literally the size of someone's fucking boobs. It doesn't matter. Like, and it's comical. It's for comedic effect. It's not like it actually impacts the story in any way except for being entertaining.
And I love it when people go, oh, it's fan service. Duh.
Yeah.
You service the fans, they're happy. Dummy. It makes I hate it when people say that. Oh, it's fan service. Well, no shit. You need to do more fan service.
Yeah.
Deadpool and Wolverine was fan service central. And
I'm
guess
just
what?
like, I'm sure Zoro's not fucking shirtless every episode for fun. Like,
yeah. Or in Jujutsu Kaisen, right? Women love Gojo.
Come on, man. We love Gojo.
And who's the other guy's name? The one that they love? Yuji. No, not Yuji. His friend. What was his name?
Todo. No.
I've forgotten his name now.
What's his name? Fujiguro? No.
The one that he got. The one when they did the flashback arc.
Flashback arc? You're gonna get me. Oh, Ghetto.
Ghetto.
Oh Lord.
Right.
I mean, it's just a animated character.
No, the guy. I don't say nothing about it. Every time I'm chatting to some girl, which is Jujutsu Kaisen, and we're talking, she's like, "Oh, I wish there was a guy like Gojo in real life."
Yeah.
I understand.
I wish there was a fucking guy that could create dimensions.
Yeah, I get it. I understand. But
Yeah.
God forbid you say to one of these people that have gone too far into their camps that, oh, yeah, I wish there was like, oh, Nico Robin, man, she's like, you know, or Boa Hancock, I wish there was a woman like that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're a pig. So, shut up, man. Fuck out of here.
No, I
Anyway,
agree.
closing thoughts?
I expected to be way angrier at that than I was, to be honest.
Yeah,
And,
I
like,
expect you. Do you know what? If this was
ended up-
2014, I think you would have stabbed me. I reckon.
But to be fair, even then, like, I never agreed with Anita's take anyway. Like, I was never that in that corner. I always thought it was a very silly argument.
Yeah.
And I think that now that it's years and years later, we're starting to see how fucking silly it really is to take that talking point seriously.
Yeah. 100%.
You know?
I think people just need to get out of their camps and just look at where the market is. And maybe
Yeah.
one day the market will be where they want it to be. I doubt it because people are fighting back viciously. But
I just hope it's fighting back because they think it's pandery and like it's too much, and it's not just the case of we don't fucking want to see any of that shit. Because I'm sorry, like, gay people exist, man. Trans people exist. You know, it may not be as prevalent as what these gaming companies are trying to shove down your throats, but every now and then in your games you might see a character that you may not be able to resonate with, but it's still a character that may be important to have for someone out there that isn't you.
yeah, I have no problem with those types of
Yeah.
people being represented in games. I have an issue of how they go about it and what games they decide to put them in, and put them as leads. And I think that if you want to make games with those people in it, no problem whatsoever.
There's still stories that need to be told. You know, I think it just depends on where, like, is this the correct way or the correct story to tell it in?
Yeah.
You know, especially
Yes,
when
that's
it's
exactly
a side, it's like a side thing, you know?
Yeah, you don't take Marcus Phoenix' story and say, this is where we're going to put a story about a woman.
Yeah.
I'm not there for it. You want to tell your story? There's plenty of places to do it. If
Or
Telltale made a game...
create a new character that tells that story properly
Yeah.
and seriously give it the time and the credence that it deserves.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll be happily buy it.
Yeah.
You make a compelling story with an original character. They can be gay. I don't care. As long as the story is good. It doesn't even have to justify their sexuality. I don't need any of
No,
that.
absolutely not.
They can just be gay.
Literally, it doesn't even have to be, I'm facing, you know, this adversity because I am of this sex or because I identify this way. Like, it doesn't even have to be that. It could literally just be a story, but I just happen to be this, you know?
Yeah. People just
and
want to
that's
have fun.
okay, exactly.
We just want to have fun.
Yeah.
We don't want to be... I don't need you to represent me in the
Yeah.
game. Like, I don't need to see myself in
But
the
you
game.
just cannot change established characters and expect the established fan base to go along with that and be
Yeah.
okay with that, or be quiet at the very least. Like, that's not going to happen.
Or do it and go bankrupt. If that suits you.